November 7th, 2017, the meeting of the Natural Resources Board for the City of Sebastian. May we all rise and pledge allegiance to the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, I guess we can take a seat. May we have the roll call, please?
Mr. Clifton is excused. Mr. Gordian?
Present.
Ms. Glacier? Here. Mr. O'Neill?
Present.
Mr. Stadelman?
Present.
Ms. Mosblack?
Present.
Thank you.
Okay, we have a quorum. Approval of the minutes.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the minutes.
I'll second that.
Okay, very good, thank you. Public input? Okay, we'll have to work on some of that. And old business, it just leads us up to our Arbor Day celebration.
I'm sorry,
And I know
Mr. Vice Chair. I don't believe that there was a vote on the minutes. There was a first and a second. Was there a vote?
All in favor on the minutes?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay,
Aye.
thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, 2018 Earth Day celebration is coming along rather smoothly. I always kind of wait till October to start it, so I'm not doing it all year round. But I've individually started contacting the vendors and getting responses. When I first started doing this, I did some group emails that really didn't work too well because when they came back, it was really hard to keep track. So now I'm individually doing them, but most of our vendors from last year want to come back. I only have one person so far that told me they're going to be out of town. So I expect as the time goes on, we'll have a nice group again. The last 2 years, we hit right around 55 to 60 vendors. So I have a couple food vendors already. Excuse me. I have 3 out of 4 of our bands signed up. I believe all 4 were going to, but one I have a problem getting through to, so I may have to go watch him perform to speak to him. But I'll get the 4th band, so we'll be set there. I've already spoke to Amy at Waste Management, and she has us on the calendar. And she will do the dumpsters again, and the map and our registration. The registration will need to be updated, but the map is okay. And she just asked me to contact her again to March to finalize things. Daisy at Curb is going to be there again. They'll have a booth, and they will bring us recycling bins and trash bags. The fire permit is a last-minute thing. I'll do that in March. I'll request the check for that and send in the application. And then the state food permit is also more of a last-minute thing. 2 years ago, I was told 2 weeks prior, and then last year, I was told I should have done it a little bit sooner, so I will do that in March also. Our items that we need from the city are going to stay pretty much the same. We did use a second tent last year. That was Bob's, and since we don't have Bob anymore, we may need to get a second tent borrowed from someone.
And the city didn't have a tent?
The city
Well,
used
yeah.
one of their own tents. Did we use 2 of
I
theirs?
thought we had 2 of them.
Okay. I know one of them was the one that was bought for us, and I thought Bob had brought his again. So,
Yes, he did. He did bring it, yeah.
okay. So we'll need to borrow a second
have
tent.
one.
Okay,
Need be, okay.
if that needs. Okay. The budget is $1,500 for this year, and looking at the bands and the fire permit, we're at $430, depending on what kind of activities we do. Last year, the rock painting was a little expensive, and I had leftovers, and I don't know if that's still I know kids are still painting, but I don't know if they're doing it as heavy as they were a year ago. If anyone has any ideas for children's activities.
We can always keep that up again.
Okay, want to keep
I
it
don't
up?
see a problem with that, yeah.
So I have paint, I'll just have to get the rocks. I have brushes left over. Chalk art contest. Alexis is on again with the Public Works Department, the Stormwater Division. She will run the contest. She takes care of getting all of her door prizes. She does all the judging, and she goes on stage around 1:30 to give the prizes out. Does a wonderful job, so I'm very excited to have her back on board. Last year, it was midnight the night before our festival, and I didn't know if my person was showing up or not. So I was home packaging up chalk that I ran out and got it before the store closed. So it's quite a lot of pressure. So I'm very happy to have Alexis back on board. She was out of town last year, otherwise she would have been there. I had Ann down for the Gopher Tour to Spurrow, so we'll need a couple volunteers to be at that location. Pinecone feeders, bird feeders we did last year, and it was kind of messy. Jim was a real spirit of heart doing it all day. So I don't know if we want to do that or bring up something else. Our entertainment for the day and activities and prizes and stuff is pretty much going to stay in the same lineup as we did the last 2 years. The paper recycling and electronic shredding, paper shredding and electronic recycling will be 9 to 12 again. The chalk art contest will be 9 to 1 with her prizes giving out probably 1:30, 2 o'clock. And then any other activities can go on all day. Very happy that Charles is going to help me with the advertising because that's always a last minute crunch to try to get it out to everyone. So that's like in the last 4 weeks from middle March to April that we try to get it done.
This is advertising for
The Earth Day celebration,
celebration, so there's a pamphlet or?
a flyer.
Are there corporate sponsorship opportunities or anything like this?
No, because it's a city event.
Okay,
So-
would they be able to donate? The reason I ask is that my friend works with Dr. Bronner's Magic Soaps. They actually started Earth Day back in the original one. They worked on it from day one. And I mentioned it to them. They're interested in supporting us any way they can. So. Oh, sorry. I didn't, yeah. So sorry about that. But so Dr. Bronner's Magic Soap would be happy to sponsor us. They also have sample giveaways we could arrange. I don't know if that's of interest to anybody, but let me know if it is.
I would have to ask the city on that because in the past we have not been allowed to have sponsors since it's a city event. We're
Right.
not allowed to pick and choose.
Okay, well,
And actually, if I may interrupt, I did check with staff. I actually checked with our contract/procurement manager. He stated that it is definitely a very gray area, that if the NRB wishes to request corporate sponsorship or at least consider it, that definitely it would have to come from the NRB board for the specific purpose of the Earth Day celebration. Certainly not from the city. Again, he wanted me to reiterate that it is a gray area, but if you felt like you could do it or you wish to do it, it definitely would have to come from the NRB and for that specific purpose.
Now, would soliciting for, let's say, for the door prize on stage, local restaurants, Mulligan's is very big. I mean, one particular restaurant always seems to donate a couple of dollars as a gift certificate for the Earth Day celebration, because they're eco-minded type of company.
He actually told me that last year he helped the NRB draft a letter of solicitation.
Okay.
We could probably do that again as long as it's fairly distributed, right? As long as it's not to one specific company or corporation versus so
Right,
many
it's a
other
general
ones.
letter,
So we can
Okay.
definitely request from him that he help us draft this letter again.
Thank you.
Brian has offered to help out with the activities, so I look forward to that. And Nikki, being a school teacher, I hope she can bring some kids on board.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the questions I had was for the activities, what age groups do you typically have? Is it, geared towards elementary or middle, high school?
Probably more in the elementary,
Okay,
but willing to pull any age we can in.
okay. So maybe having the older volunteers to help out with activities, that kind of thing. Okay, yeah, I can,
Just like to get the kids out in the park and enjoying nature. The last few years, we've just had wonderful weather, and it's just such a pretty place to be in April, and
yeah.
the more people we can get outside, the better.
Absolutely, okay.
So I think that's all I have for now. I'll continue working on the vendors. I should explain my paperwork a little bit since we have 3 new members. I have my plans that I follow every year, the blue items of what I've worked on this month. So after tonight, I will change it to black, so it just kind of fades into the plans. So you don't have to really look at them every time, but I will always highlight what is new and changed, or if I have questions. On my vendor list, all of the yellow vendors are regular vendors. The green vendors are food vendors. And as I take the color line across, they have agreed that they're coming this year. The gray line going across are 2 people that are going to be out of town. One was here last year and one was not. So that's how I kind of fill in my sheet. So the vendor list will stay the same. It'll be just more color added every month. So that's all I have to say. Any
Very well
questions, any
organized.
ideas?
Yeah, she is doing a great job on that.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, Ms. Glazer, I had a thought, and I just wanted to pass it by you.
Please.
I always, and I'm sure you're aware of it too, the Natural Awakenings magazine. It's a free magazine that's distributed to in many places. I know that they advertise, there's a big health fair at FIT every year. And it seems like they advertise in the magazine for vendors or, for people to contribute or be there or whatever, long before the event. I didn't know if this was possibly, and maybe we need to also present this to Mr. Stadelman, since he has agreed to do some of the marketing. This may be a venue, because of course it is all natural.
Absolutely.
What do I want to say, advertisers or uses or products in this magazine. And I don't know what the cost is. I know nothing else except that I pick it up for free around town. So I just thought if you won't mind, after the meeting, I'll hand it to you and you all can do with it what you will.
That's a great idea.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. You did a wonderful job. Thank you.
Yeah. Just one more comment, Rose, on this. Hopefully, everybody on the board can participate on that particular day. Technically, some folks can't stay all day. I usually stay all day for that event, and it would be great if everybody can stay.
Absolutely.
One day in the new year, so that's not bad.
For Earth.
All right. We'll go to 6L, the septic tank and sewer grants. I'm not too familiar with what's going on with that.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
In accordance with the meeting minutes from last meeting, the board requested some further information regarding the NRB
There is an
board's
outline
role. And I thought that it would be, well, you had requested these particular items. So what I've provided to you this evening is the septic to sewer grant program that is available within the CRA. You have a map of the CRA boundary, so those are the properties that are eligible for this grant. It's a matching grant of up to $15,000 in order to assist you in switching from your septic system to sewer. The next item was the tree protection ordinance that we had discussed. We are in the process of coming up with a plan to protect the trees within the Riverside Park. We are building off the policy that is before you. I would draw your eyes to number 10 of the policy that states that driving or parking motor vehicles in the park is prohibited because of the trees. It does damage to their roots. It compacts the soils so they cannot breathe. I know it's hard to believe a tree breathes oxygen, but it does, and it gets it from its roots. And it exhales the CO2 from its leaves. So it's important for these trees to be protected in some manner, and we are working on a protection plan. And again, we are building off the information that I provided to you this evening. What's interesting is I put it in the wrong spot, and I do apologize. The Arbor Day Foundation membership It was actually something Mr. Clifton had requested. You know, we are a tree city, USA, and as part of the Earth Day celebration, it needs to also be considered an Arbor Day celebration. The Arbor Day Foundation membership is this $10 or $15, and with it comes free trees. I don't know if you've ever experienced them, but I mean, I did it years and years and years ago, and I received, 10 very small, have you experienced it, Ms. Glazer? But, interesting enough, those oak trees are growing like crazy in my front yard, and I'm a block from the beach, and I have, 30-foot oak trees in my yard. So they do grow. But I didn't know if that was something that you all were interested in, because then we would go ahead and get those trees for the celebration if you'd like.
I think it would be perfect.
I think it's a great idea.
Okay.
We also have a couple of, one or two businesses here in town that did donate 2 or 3 years ago, gave us quite a few oak trees, and we did plant them around in some of the parks, and some of them did do well. Some of them, of course, did not. They perished, but that was a good project. We spent a Saturday morning digging them and planting those. And maybe perhaps I can ask them if they can offer us a few of those.
That's a wonderful idea. Okay, and then thirdly, I provided information on the oyster bags project. Actually, there's 2 projects, and you'll see the existing project is the one that the Boy Scouts spearheaded several years back. And so what I provided to you is a description of it and where they are located. And I did find information from some meeting minutes stating that they have been monitored, I believe, by the Boy Scouts. I do not have any contact information for Mr. Giordano. If you have that information, I would appreciate having. I'd like to follow up with them. And maybe after the meeting or tomorrow, give me a call.
Okay.
So that's a very interesting project that is going on. The new project is one that the city approached the Indian River Lagoon Council and received some matching grant dollars. We are in the process of getting all of our permits in order to put the bags down, and we were waiting after the hurricane damage of all of the docks out at the working waterfront, where Krabby Bill's is. We've been waiting for all of that work to be completed, obviously, before we get in the water and start doing some of the, inserting the oyster bags. It's considered fill in the Indian River Lagoon, so that is why we have to get permits from St. John's and the Army Corps of Engineers. But I do want to bring your
Question for you.
I'm so sorry. What?
When you say get in the water, you're actually getting in the water?
That is correct. They'll be placed in the water.
Now, it said, there's signs that say no swimming, and there's also been some warnings lately in terms of water quality because of all the runoff, or was
I mean,
that?
that is a question that I kind of keep in my mind. How's the water quality here in the river? For, like down south, they closed several of the ocean beaches, and I'm concerned about what goes on here
I
as
don't,
far as
I
our
don't
water
stand up
testing.
paddleboard in this river anymore. When I first moved here, I used to, but I don't anymore because of all the
unknowns,
The
yeah.
unknowns, right?
Well, we are, as far as I'm aware, all of the Indian River Lagoon is an impaired water body. It has been determined to be impaired. It is exceeding their total maximum daily load of nitrogen and phosphorus, and I believe in some areas total suspended solids and those type of issues within the river, which then creates a problem with the seagrass, and then of course,
Right.
then we don't have all of the diversity that we need within the river to make it a healthy system. I believe we are fortunate here in the city in that we do not have the high pollutant load.
Right.
And I may be speaking out of turn, but I have not read anything that would make me question the safety of going into the river today. I believe that in North Brevard, they have had some problems because of sewage discharge, but I have not read that for our area.
Well, my question, I guess, also goes to do with, the city's responsibility in terms of keeping the kids informed. I mean, kids are gonna go in the water, right, if they get a chance. And I guess, down on the river, I don't see any signs other than by the boat ramp that says no swimming. So I guess that would be a question to ask somebody, what liability does the city possess if we're not if we don't have, at least have signs, swim at your own risk. We've been, there's been high, water flows from Lake Okeechobee. We don't, I would question as to what the safety is and what the responsibility of the city is to people, citizens that are getting in the water, putting down oyster beds, or stand-up paddleboarding, or even water skiing, right? I mean, going out to the islands and stuff and having picnics. I know that I've been told if your system is compromised, definitely do not go in the water.
Or do you have any cuts or wounds?
Right. So, I mean, it's interesting what is, given the fact that I went down there today and the only sign I saw was no swimming, and that was at the boat ramp. So, maybe there is something that we could do as far as raising the level of awareness. At least, these waters have been known to contain contaminants at times, whatever. I mean, just the liability, I would think there's some liability there, and to let people know.
I think
Maybe
if
we
you
could
use-
even work with the testing people, the people who are doing the testing, and to get this information distributed electronically on our website even, the city's website would be a good place. Today's water conditions at the inlet are great. In the river, there's been some known contaminants or whatever, but I know that they do post stuff at the inlet sometimes, and they do take readings there. So somebody's taking a reading there,
There are several groups in the area that do water testing. Marine Resource Council up in Brevard County, they do it. I mean, I could probably give them a call and to find out exactly, or even talk to them as far as being a guest
Yeah,
speaker.
let's inform
Have
ourselves.
him come down and give us a little 20-minute talk on what
How
their
often
line
they
of,
do
what,
it,
what their line of work would be, and how we can
I mean,
affect.
maybe the lifeguards are in tune to it too, and we don't know, but there's certainly, Sebastian is known for fishing and surfing, so keeping the water awareness high is good.
It's almost general knowledge that if you use the resource of the river, if you're boating, water skiing, jet skiing, it's pretty much at your own risk.
Right.
It all depends,
Right.
it's not the city's liability, but we can definitely look into
Well, I
maybe
mean,
seeing what their role is as far as research.
If local governments know that there's been some type of thing going on, and, the information doesn't get downstream, so to speak, along with whatever is going else downstream, then I think we should let people know.
Yeah, I'll give MRC a call and see if there's another affiliation with Lagoon Preserve people and see what they think about it. Good topic.
If I may, Mr. Chairman, I just wanted to again bring to the attention of this board getting back to the oyster habitat project that is proposed to be put in by the Working Waterfront. That project apparently, and again, forgive me, I'm in my 8th week here at the city. I think I'm doing pretty good here. In November of 2014, there was a public workshop. And at that workshop, as part of that workshop, it was established that the NRB board would be one of the big players in the in putting together volunteers to help put in these oyster bags. And I'm talking about the new location at the Working Waterfront. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention, and perhaps someone would like to volunteer as a lead, and we can work together to possibly take on both of the projects. I'll follow up with the Boy Scouts, but I mean, they would
Right.
obviously be a great resource in helping us establish the working waterfront oyster bag habitat. And remember that we have matching grant from the Indian River Lagoon Council for this particular one. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention and perhaps ask that someone volunteer to lead it.
I have a lot of fish and chick friends that used to do a lot of oyster mat making every time it was available to us to go help. And they were disappointed this last time when the Boy Scouts did it because they were all willing and able to help and didn't get an opportunity. So I can definitely call on some of them to help us out.
Ms. Frazier, did they, the working waterfront, did they already get their permits? Or is that still in the process?
That's still in process. We have the Army Corps permit, it's my understanding, and that we are answering some requests for further information from St. John's. But again, we pulled back a little bit only because we were repairing all of the docks there and the ramp there from the hurricane. So we weren't in a real hurry to get everything done, but Margarita and I walked all of the boardwalks last week, and it all looked good and fine and in working order, so we may be able to proceed quickly now.
If I could ask for the volunteers, is there a minimum age that you would need? Is it school-age kids again, or is it adults?
There's no listing, but I would think
There's
that,
some kind of, I saw a liability form back here, so is everyone signing those liability forms? And I guess parents can sign if the kids are under 18 then?
I would presume so.
Yeah, okay, okay.
I would think the age limit would be within reason, because let's say they do an in-water project, their safety is utmost.
Sure, yeah,
Because it
absolutely.
is pretty shelly in that section where they're going to put the
Yeah.
oyster mats.
Yeah, it can be dangerous.
Ms. Frazier, if you wanted to maybe set a day that we can go over to the working waterfront when someone's available to show us the actual site.
I would be happy to. And so shall I contact you?
You could.
And then you and I will go. Again, I was going to wait to give this statement during the member matters, but I do need to caution you as a board. We do have law of the sunshine here in the state of Florida, and if you are not familiar with it, it just means that we have to be very transparent about when we speak together as a group. 2 or more of you constitutes a meeting. You do not want to violate, public meeting acts. Even disseminating information to the group directly is a potential violation, only because then if you send it out to the group and then Gil sends back to you a response, you have that potential of violating the Public Meeting Act. So I just caution you, it's not here to stop us from proceeding in a timely, easy manner. It's just a way of making sure that we are transparent in our actions and transparent in our decisions, that it is a group decision and that the public is very much aware of what we are doing. So that being said, if Gil is the lead for the oyster mat project, I would be happy to set up a meeting. You and I go out there and look at everything. If 2 or more of you would like to go, I can arrange that, and all I have to do is advertise it and just make sure that the public, and advertising could just be on our website, that we're going to go out there and look at this, just to make sure that the public is aware that 2 or more members may be there and you will be discussing this project. Okay?
I'd also like to add, it's not really a big rush that we go there, like next week or the next month. It could be in 2018, because the oyster mats cannot be planted or set down until a certain time frame, which could be April or October, that type of seasonal plantings for these things, so that when they do start to seed out, that they catch some of the oyster shells. So it's just a matter of framing it out. and what's appropriate for the working waterfront to go ahead with the project, because they didn't get their permits yet. Any other comments on the working waterfront?
Gil, do we still have an ongoing permit for laying oyster bags as
I
a
would-
board? Because I
You know,
thought
that's a
we
good
had
question. I
two.
think with Ms. Frazier, maybe she can follow up on that for us. The permit that was issued for the Boy Scouts, for Paul and John Giordano, is that still, is it a forever where they can add more to that section of Sebastian? That's the question.
Because this is considered a fill, correct? Anytime that you are working in, on, over any waters of the United States, we would have to just get a modification to the existing permit and make that the regulatory agencies aware that we are going to add more or build upon it. It was interesting in considering the monitoring for these, this oyster habitat. I guess the, oh my goodness, it's gone from my head. Who's the premier scientific group? It'll come to me. The Smithsonian. They have been doing extensive surveys, and it was you that had brought up, how are we monitoring this? Well, to monitor the effects of water quality from an oyster bed is a little difficult, especially in an environment such as the Indian River Lagoon, where there's just many factors floating around. It's a big system. But what the Smithsonian is doing is that they have been monitoring like individual oysters and making a determination the value of an individual oyster. So then if you monitor the viability of the bed itself based on how many oysters are there, then you can extrapolate the number, if you will, or the quality of the water that is being filtered. I thought it was very fascinating in my discovery. So as we monitor these oyster beds, it won't necessarily be grab testing for water quality. It'll be more of getting out there and doing a measurement of the oyster beds themselves to see if they're viable, to see if they're expanding, those type of parameters. And I'll get together with the Boy Scout group to see how that's going.
They don't survive in fresh water, right?
Brackish.
But given the volume of fresh water going into the lagoon these days, you know, the salinity content is really dropping. So you're looking at a lot of fresh water as opposed to what used to be brackish, right?
And that's why organizations like MRC do that salinity test and turbidity test on the water.
Back to our original permit for the board that the Boy Scouts used, I thought we had permission to put so many square foot out, and we could go back and do it a second time without doing.
I did not think we were at our
bidding
limit.
again.
Correct.
I apologize. I do not know.
I would have to look
I
up my
have
notes,
the
but I'm
permit
sure
right
we had a
here.
permit to go forward and do more.
If it allows us to, then I think that's wonderful. Again, I apologize.
What was it, 2016 that we put it in? Earth Day 2016?
Yes, ma'am, very good.
And Lisa, I will send you John Giordano's info. Okay. All right, we can step into members' matters, I believe. I'd like to just give a quick report. We lost 2 members on the board, and unfortunately, Ann Lucier will not be with us. She has stepped down a little bit to take care of some other homeworks, and she was a great asset to the board for quite a few years. I would say 6 to 7 years, and we'll miss her. Maybe she'll come back. We'll see. Any other member matters?
You said 2 members?
Oh, well, Jim Clifton resigned, chair. Yeah,
What?
that Jim Clifton resigned.
No, that's news to me.
Wait a minute, okay.
Drop the mic.
That's,
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
shut the mic down. Okay, so
Mr. Clifton was unable to attend this
Attend, okay.
evening.
You're
Thank
right.
you.
Okay.
Oh, you just gave me a heart attack.
Yeah, I was like, wait, we must voted last week, or?
Got a little dyslexic there. Forgive me. There was one other note here I wrote down. Oh, shirts for our members. If we can possibly have our shirts, and I'm sure it'll be with us well before Earth Day. Nikki, you're on? Yeah. Nice. Does it fit? Anyone else on members' matters?
I don't know if this, I've got some stuff here. One of them is the FEMA flood zone for Sebastian. I just pulled it off the website. And then the other one is the task force membership for the South Florida, advisory. It's an advisory board to South Florida Water Management, but it's got a lot of interesting people from DC on down here, and I don't know if, as a resource, I don't know if it's relevant to anything we're looking at, but you might want to take a look at that. And I was interested in going down yesterday to that meeting for the South Florida Water District, but I couldn't get down there, so I watched it on the video. Pretty interesting stuff going on in Florida right now about water. I'll give it to you guys, and you can make a copy of it for next meeting.
If I may, please be aware that we are in the St. Johns River.
Right.
Okay.
Right, we are.
Not South Florida.
Right, we are.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify that.
And one other thing I'd like to mention, if any of the board members can think of a topic so we can have some guest speakers come and perhaps give us a talk, I'll try and get in touch with, up at MRC and see if they can come down and talk to us about water quality and their job here and along the river. I'll do that one, and perhaps we can start that after January, and at least once a month, we may perhaps have a 15 or 20-minute brief talk.
The Indian
Somebody-
River Lagoon Estuary, the federal people said they would like to come talk.
Yeah.
And they would like to be just notified when we're meeting.
Dwayne DeFries, Dr. Dwayne DeFries, he's on that.
I don't really know
think
who
he's
they
in
are.
there.
I'd spoken to them briefly, and they just said they would like to come talk at our meeting.
Well, since this is a
Yeah,
November
we can
meeting,
make another the dates.
Mhm.
are we going to be in the Christmas parade again this year?
That's another subject there.
That is the first Saturday in December. It'll be Saturday, December 2nd. Because that's going to fall before we have another meeting. In the past, we carried our banner down the street. It was rather dark, so like
Yeah.
flashlights or
lights.
something on our banner might be a good idea, or lights around it. But we all wore our shirts and khaki pants and made our presents.
I'm-
Available for that day.
I think it's like 6 o'clock in the evening. Do you need my glasses?
No, I'll squint. That's Saturday, December
Saturday
2nd.
I'm available, and, I'd be happy to walk down the street with a banner to advertise the Natural Resources Board.
You would need two
I would need,
participants.
I'm
Yeah.
willing.
there you go,
Are
so
you?
that's two.
Nikki?
I'd have to check
You can check.
with the family, but
But
I'm
we
pretty
can-
sure
we-
at this point.
Two can do. and-
Yeah.
But more can join, that's even better.
How did you illuminate the flag?
We did-
LEDs.
Last year, we were going to put
Magnetic.
LED lights around it, but I don't think we marched last year because too many people had other things going on. But the year before, when we walked, it was very dark. So I was going to go out and get a strand of lights to put
LEDs, yeah,
around it.
I can, there's plenty of
We
stuff.
can wear a goofy Christmas hat if you want.
That's fine
You'd
with
be a
me.
Christmas tree for the Natural Resource Board.
Okay.
So we have
You
two.
want to march? Sure. Okay. Last year, I believe we were down at the Main Street boat dock around 5 o'clock,
Okay.
and it started at 6.
Okay.
And I see my friend Bruce all the time, so I will let him know we will be there. And he puts us at the front part of the parade.
Okay.
That's great. Thanks for taking that on.
I believe our banner is here.
I hope so.
We had a
Nolo-
pool that we put in it.
Ms. Frazier maybe can help us out with that one.
It's,
Natural Resource Board banner?
is in the storage.
I'll actually look into that. I vaguely remember that the Public Works Department was now returning the banners to each of the groups. So I'll check into that to verify, and I'll report back at the next meeting.
I believe after Earth Day is when we had to keep it in our possession, and Ann put it in the room when she took it home. So we need a piece of PVC or something to slide
To
through the
hold it.
top to be able to hold it. We had a piece, but who knows? And it needs to be long enough to come out the ends, because I think last time we were kind of close. It was an 8-foot banner. Okay. Before the Christmas parade, I will be responsible for picking up the banner and seeing that we have PVC in it and doing some kind of lights.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
then that means I need to get you the polo shirts before the December 5th meeting. All right, well then, I'll make sure that they're here, and then when they are here
Maybe
at
we
the
could
City
meet
Hall,
and
I
get
will
the
email you.
banner, secure the banner at that time,
shirts.
since it has to be in the sunshine and everything, so we're good, right?
I will email you when the polo shirts arrive, how's that?
Perfect.
Any other member matters? Items for the next agenda?
Earth Day,
Earth Day would be one. I'll try to muster up for 2018 at least one or two guest speakers.
What are we doing to fill the other seats on the council? Do we recruit, or is there, I mean, other than what's on the website is where I found it, but, I mean, can you put something in one of those flyers, or
Well,
The
generally
Sebastian-
it's on the website, I'm sorry.
that Sebastian newsletter that goes in the restaurants that's free, whatever, the Pelican News or whatever, I don't know,
I don't know.
okay?
That's a great idea, and I will check into it, but I know that we will advertise on the website that there is an opening. And generally, they make announcements like that, I believe, at the city council meeting, I want to say. I did not want to, Mr. Clifton and I, the existing chair who hasn't resigned, he did come and meet with me, and we had a long conversation about the Stormwater Master Plan. He has reviewed it, him and I are going over it. I didn't feel that I was ready to make a presentation on the Stormwater Master Plan at this point that would be anything pertinent for this board. So in the near future, I will be bringing that up again. I know Mr. Clifton is very, very much engaged in that process. And also the other announcement I wanted to make was that we have interviewed for our environmental technician, and we're hoping to narrow it down. We had 2 good candidates, and we'll bring them back in for a second interview very soon. And hopefully we'll be able to present that person to you in the near future.
If there is nothing further, we'll adjourn the meeting of the Natural Resources Board.